We'll pick up then. The potted plants around you all have ceased to move on their own. They do move, but it's with the actual, blow of the wind or the droop of the heavy raindrops, and they're not lighting up. They're lighting up through the lightning. They're still magical. So there's a freebie for you, Jade, as you go back in your predator vision here. All the flowers still do glow a rainbow of different colors and scintillations, though there are none that are moving on their own.
Exactly. Does this make it better?
Oh, she did.
By
She
the way?
did that thing.
Yeah, your mic does sound better.
I don't really know
Yeah, no, I
why
know.
she did
It
that,
wasn't
but
using my headset mic. It was using my webcam mic.
that's gonna make a big difference.
Ah, gotcha. All right.
So I fixed it up.
Anyway, does anyone have any ideas? Why don't we put Mordecai in the cart so that we can take him someplace safe, and maybe we can find a tumbled wench, which appears to be the only chain of inns in this entire continent. And
It's a very popular place.
I know it is. It's. Why don't we do that, and then maybe Mordecai can rest up, and we'll get him some. And then maybe we can. I'm not hurt that bad.
Yes, I think going to a tumbled wench and then planning out our next move is probably the best idea.
Let's do that then.
It's probably good if we go see his family, because if we go and talk to them and say that Tibber has been kidnapped and that we can get him back, they might hire us to do so.
They might. I mean, yeah. Why don't we do that? So why don't we find the tumbled wench, and we can get Mordecai a nice soft bed. And Celine, if you wanna go talk to the flower fields tonight, I would be willing to do that, or we can do it in the morning, whichever you think is better.
Probably best to see if the storm passes and then go talk to them in the morning. I am exhausted. I drove that cart such a long way.
I know. It's always tiring when you drive all day.
You'll have to push then just that much further to get to the tumbled wench in the middle of Snam Phi here. Do you have
Yes.
it? Do you have it in you, Celine?
Oh, I have it in me to get to the tumbled wench, just not to do anything else.
Okay.
The grease should be gone now, so the donkeys can actually stand up.
Yep. The rain has washed away the grease. I know it's a magical effect, but we'll just say that the ectoplasm has washed away.
It only lasts a minute.
Yeah, it's a 1 minute effect.
He and Haw. Yep. He and Haw find their feet again, and well, there's no combat going on around them. They're not battle donkeys, so they were kind of panicking. But now they've restored back to just being grumpy, wet donkeys, and it's time to push forward then.
Okay.
All right, so Celine, once more, your soggy bottom plops down onto the wooden bench. It's about this time too, because you kind of had your car seat settings in a particular way, and you're like, why do I have to like scoot around? Like, did the pillow lose a little bit of fluff? What's going on? This could be a trigger for the realization that you're not quite the same as you once were. So Yamule, onward you go. With the warning of Bright, let's keep an eye out. Let's be cautious about what's happening. Are we gonna have to do this? Are we gonna have to fight through every quarter of the city? You actually see that as you take the road further into the downtown section of Snam Phi here, you're finding a lot of houses and businesses have their own planters and potted plants broken, disrupted, or otherwise they're just plain missing.
Because we broke all their potted plants.
This is
Those were the gribblers.
well. This is beyond the initial area. This is as you're pushing into the center of town.
Looks like some hooligans went through here.
Maybe, but based on the behavior of the plants that we've seen, it seems like they might be using these plants as like store guardians, kind of like how some people would use guard squirrels, but they use guard plants, or I guess guard dogs for you bigger ones, and which is everybody. So sorry about that, but oh, maybe there's been a crime wave. Maybe we can find out in the morning when there's people to talk to. Or we could ask around in the tumbled winch. It looks like there's lots of people still awake.
You do make your way through rainy Snemfi. You do see that there is the destruction or uprooting or like some piles of mud that are around you on your way in. There is light that pours out of the tumbled wench, and it does seem to be a very lively place because any town that's a town has a tumbled wench in it. It's a very successful franchise. You pull in, and Pouty Lips is all too happy to volunteer, quote unquote, to pay and arrange for the stabling, and your first night will even be on Pouty Lips's coin purse. So the arrangements are made where you can have you can have 3 rooms that are next to each other, and with the storm and everything, though, the popular rooms aren't always on the top floor, but you're on the top floor. So you have like 303, 305, and 307 that are next to each other. You can split up as you will.
I want to bunk with Celine.
Celine's definitely going to need a bath because she is covered in mud and dirt and cold water and just... Now, this place doesn't have the hot springs like Browbeat did in the mountains, but you can still purchase a warm bath as a service. With no plants really around to attack, and it does seem like...
sound from you with lethality.
Oh, can you repeat that? I didn't hear that, Mordecai.
Oh, I was saying that lethality, we're not getting any sound from you for saying anything to us.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
There we go.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna get a warm bath because I need it so badly.
Understandable. I don't really need a bath. I'm still pretty clean from the rain.
I mean, unless it's bright, you wanna use prestidigitation.
I can clean things with prestidigitation, but it's not like taking a bath where you're all comfy.
Yeah.
But I can get things clean. I'm happy to do that for you. A scene servant too. I can conjure up Betty, and she'll wash things too for you if you really want.
I'm good if you just cast prestidigitation on me to get all this gunk and stuff off. I mean, I've already had Norlai make 2 potted plants explode in my face.
It was my fault.
Okay. What did you do? Okay, you feel better now.
Yep, Celine, a bunch of like sparkles, kind of like woo, effervescently remove dirt and grime, and they just sort of like woo, disappear into the air. All right.
Learned that spell.
So your rooms are reserved. He and Ha are stabled, and presumably secure location has been made for Pouty Lips' mercantile wagon. Which does, by the way, have Cleaver Girl, a sign on the side of it, advertising for Cleaver Girl. So, U-Haul, well, let's see, if Norlai and Celine are bunking up, who wants to be with Mordecai? Or do you want to just sort of like throw him in a closet, in like a broom closet, and just let him kind of lurk there for a little while? He's not going to complain. What's he going to do?
Well, he can stay with Pouty Lips instead of both boys.
I was gonna ask, does Jade still look like Tibba, or is she Jade?
Oh, that is a good question. We'll have to ask. Oh,
yeah, until she ends up saying otherwise.
Okay. Then,
Maybe Tibba should bunk with Mordecai.
Okay.
Stay together, and then Caroline wants to stay with Celine. I guess that means I get my own room.
Oh, darn.
I'm really small and I don't take up very much space, and I kind of like having people around. So it actually does make me kind of sad, but it's okay if that's just the way it works out.
You don't have to. You could bunk up with someone else, but you can have 3 rooms that are given to you all to split up however you'd like. If you only want to use 2, that's fine.
It's actually really hard for me to bunk with Jade when she looks like Tibba, because I know that Tibba Tiba, and it's just super weird. So I don't want to do it this time.
Okay.
I mean, with Jade.
You can hang out with Selena and Norlai, and Yori, and Jack,
Well,
and
Sue.
and
So,
Betty
you
Sue,
know,
or
Peggy Sue.
I'm sorry. Betty was the unseen servant.
Should be in my hair, just like old times. Even though she's kind of big and doesn't really fit.
All right, then. So then it's 2 rooms. Apparently the girls are having a sleepover with their fun little their Pokemans that they all have, and Mordecai and Tiba, quote unquote, are going to be in the other room. Mordecai, at least Tiba doesn't realize the intrinsic magical value of eyelids, so you'll probably still have them by the time you end up recovering. So hopefully that'll be the case. Okay, so you are no longer under attack. You have time to rest and to think. A bath can be provided for 1 silver piece. You can have a warm bath and access to soap. Should you desire it. I mean, prestidigitation is one thing, but come on. A bath is a bath. That's up to you.
I am also gonna have a bath.
Then you can enjoy that, and you all are having some time to think and to put some pieces together here. Now, what happens between Mordecai and Tiba, especially because we're coming up to our hard break time of 3 a.m., at least my local time here. If you two want to have some sort of side roleplay in the channel, that might be interesting. Or at least as Tiba might say things or even try to revive Mordecai. Although Mordecai, for right now, you are still in this unconscious state where you're having vivid dreams of woodland creatures and at the same time, there's just this lingering feeling of anxiousness about the future that you're having as you're going through this. Now, in the girls' room here with Norlai, Celine, and Bright, as a part of whatever you do, and you 3 are welcome to have your own side role play as well, in the chat if you'd like. I mean, you could talk about whatever you want. I don't know, this could be good bonding time or something. There's definitely 3 distinct personalities that are occupying this place. To bring up a couple things here, one of the 3 of you can roll investigation at advantage, because you're talking and going over the events of what has happened. As a part of what
I'm gonna let Bright do it.
Bright can do it.
Okay. It's a pretty good investigation.
Okay, very much so. All right, then these are things to think about and discuss as you are comparing notes. And this is for, again, either side chat roleplay, or you could bring it up or continue to investigate it while you're in town or throughout the course of the game. A couple things happened in this fight that you're putting together your separate experiences. Number 1, it seemed like the plant creatures didn't see or react to or otherwise really notice Norlai. The plant creatures also seemingly reacted to the presence of the others, and in different colors. Mordecai's reactions were in this pure red color. Interactions with Bright, Bright and with Jade are they were a violet color, purple color. And Celine, there was a greenish interaction with you, and so with that bioluminescence or the way that the plants were reacting around you all. So those are things to consider as well. And in piecing together more of these clues, Bright had that idea where maybe their storefronts or people have these plants as security, which could still very well be the case. Depending on the nature of the plants, though, a lot of the plants might have uprooted or otherwise been embattled because there were other outsiders similar to you all that had been moving through town that disrupted them, or otherwise caused them to get a little wiggly. So these are things to ponder and to consider amongst yourselves as you're you have the time to relax in the bath. You're in bed and you can actually be warm and dry and not having flowers and vines and everything slam you around and all this. And we can ask the locals as well, but as we're coming up to time here, I think that would be good for interactive investigation after you've come up with your own questions or whatnot, and then you can ask directed questions to the locals. So just sort of by DM fiat, you can ask around town, but right now let's focus on you and getting you all around. And the last bit would be that it would seem, especially because Mordecai was able to actually do this. Bright, make an Arcana at advantage.
Okay.
And we'll see.
25.
Nice. Okay, yeah. So some of the basics, you've already been able to deliver a physical drug to Mordecai via sort of a mix or an infusion with your blood. That being said, it's your nature as a wizard to study the functionality of spells. There could be some way perhaps to entwine magic with blood in order to affect Mordecai as well, at least when it comes to maybe curative or restorative magics. He was able to, he could have his own brand because that's emanating from him. It's a part of him. It's an extension of himself back to himself. It could be possible to craft a spell or a spell delivery method that could interact with Mordecai given his special needs. And between all of the different types of magic you have, with Norlai, you saw or at least heard that she was able to just shape spells at her own will. This is advanced level spellcasting stuff that only a select few wizards may be able to do. But she just did it, and she's just a perky young flighty tiefling here. Mordecai sings from himself, from his soul and his experiences and his wonderment. Celine draws on power from a deity, and arguably Jade might be doing the same, or it might be the same thing but different. Whatever the curiosity between what are the differences between clerics and warlocks, you all can pursue. And then of course Bright, you use what's in front of you. You do calculations, you do the drawings, and you do pieces and parts and combine them together in different ways to cast your own magic. So there could be ways to use what is available here in order to help Mordecai, and proceed from there. So this is kind of a quick and dirty. Here's an examination of topics that you all can think about. You can do side role play on, and then we can broach these topics more in depth after you've had a chance to sleep off your injuries, recover your spells, maybe interact with the locals a little bit more one way or the other, and of course pursue Tiba, his family, or what could be happening here. Does that work for you all? Or do you have anything else? Because we have a couple minutes left before lethality has to take off.
The only question I had would be, how much blood do we still have left? Because Mordecai's probably going to be really hungry when he wakes up, and we're going to need to have some blood for him. Even if it's not very good, it's probably probably like milk, where after a couple of days it's not very good anymore.
We weren't keeping it cold either.
In the in the bucket, there's you ended up drinking some of that earlier, didn't you, Mordecai?
I think so.
Yeah. There probably is some. I think your milk theory does hold. That unless it's treated in some magical or chemical way, it will clot, it'll thicken, or lose its potency or flavor. It'll be sort of like sour milk, kind of a, you're getting like a cheese out of it. Yeah, I know, isn't that fun? So, you might have to spoon feed Mordecai some clotted material, and hopefully kind of maybe that'll do something to bring him around. But you've been traveling for a couple days with a bucket of like pork blood, and you know, that's not really going to hold if it hasn't been stabilized in some fashion. Diadem says bleed the gnome. Oh my gosh. Bright apparently does not have a fan.
No.
Although
Mordecai
Diadem's
doesn't
in
want that.
fairness, Bright was the first one to bleed herself to Mordecai. So
He's not getting any of mine.
so yeah, I mean, depending on the potency of whatever's left in Jade's bucket, if Jade is willing to share even, or maybe, for all we know, Jade is like force feeding an unconscious Mordecai this clotted material to try and bring him around. We'll have to discover that. But you all have your own blood if you are willing to experiment or donate, or otherwise find a poor hapless person and, you know, knock him out and draw him up to your room and throw him to Mordecai or
That
something.
doesn't sound like something I would do.
Mordecai doesn't like that idea.
All right, so we'll leave off on these not necessarily loose ends, but these are ends that we can explore and pursue or tie up in certain ways. So thank you all. I hope that you did enjoy tonight's combat and where it'll take us. As a DM, when I run combats, I do make sure you can take story content out of it, so that we're still advancing even if we're spending a lot of a session engaging in combat. So, you know, think about what happened, think about the clues that are in front of you, and noodle them out, because everything was happening for reasons. And we'll take off from there. Oh yeah, Diadem's rats, rodents would work for blood. Yeah, I mean, you could just yeah, I have some giants that were hunting effectively like very big Bidoofs in my own home game world. They just pop the head off and squeeze them like a Go-Gurt pack into their mouth. So yeah, there's stuff like that.
Capri Sun.
Or like a Capri Sun, right? You just squeeze all the content in there. So
That's the Capri Sun of the vampire world.
all right, so Lethality, if you gotta go ahead. What I'm gonna do, Lethality, is I did a bonus stream of Underdark last night, and we left off right before the final boss. So I think what I'm gonna do here, for everyone here, it's a horror Capri Sun. What I'll do is, while you're driving, because you take about an hour to set up, I'm gonna switch over real quick to Undertale, and I'm gonna try and finish that up. And then when I see you all post that Gathering of Nerds is getting ready to play, I'll make sure that we can switch back over to you. Okay? Cool. All right, well, drive safely, my friend. Good game, and I'll see you later.
I will not
see you
be
here
here
next
next week.
And yes, and Mordecai will not be here, so any plans that we do through text or whatnot, you know, we can consider that as well.
We should do the night.
So are we going to assume that, like, Mordecai's still knocked out for next week's game, that he just, because of some weird vampire interaction, he's incapacitated still?
Yeah,
or how are we gonna
that's
play
terribly convenient, actually. Just how Celine is the one who drives the cart, and when Celine's not around and you had to drive the cart, that's how it worked out. So Mordecai, this is a really good time for you to be zonked out, and things can happen around you here. Some investigation, and if you are brought back around, I don't know, I can get some basic AI programming from you, like in the event Mordecai's woken up, you know, do this, or do this, and then I'll just run Mordecai bot, and you know, and you'll go beep boop around town.
Yeah.
Although, that's a thing too, because aren't we going to do the Nightmare one-shot next week?
Just because of the time zone changing?
Yes.
Time changing isn't something that matters. We don't need a one-shot for time.
Yeah, yeah, it was proposed, so we could do something.
It'll also be Halloween.
That's right. It is Halloween, so maybe we can do a spooky one shot in some form or fashion. Let me noodle on that. Like, you all continue role playing, do any side stuff as you want, and then you know, get a list of questions or other things you want to pursue, and then we'll talk about it. We'll see what we can do on Wednesday on Halloween, and we'll go from there.